for me, 2 points from the gentleman, and perhaps you might want to comment on them. One, the issue of accountability. Just yesterday, Bazima Shilowa actually tweeted and said, and it was the story of John Block, and he said, had it not been for the media, we wouldn't be seeing a heavy ANC, whatever, senior ANC man who is now going to jail for 15 years, of course, depending on the processes, etc., etc. So had it not been for the media, but Nkandla itself, men in government, 100 or so. So the issues of the issues of accountability. That's one side of the story. The other side of the story is the crises that we're talking about on a daily basis. He seems to say there's a positive side to it, and one of those is the revival of civil society. Do you see any other positive?
Look, I'm not a despairing the sky is falling kind of person, even though I think Donald Trump might actually get to be now the sky falling. I have a slight disagreement on the intellectual component, because I think we do tend to focus on the Mandy Rousseaus. We take the exception, we assume that's the rule. I think that there is a real problem with critical literacy among the educated elites in South Africa. And those include, so when you said this is a conversation among elites, there's often a lack of just literally the ability to read how the state works by people who report on it. So there's a lot of information out there, but there's often a lack of meaning. So people will tweet lots and lots of stuff, they will write stories, and there will be 6 missing understandings of the relationship between the executive and the legislature, or between the judiciary. So there are understandings that Mogoeng can save us all like Superman, that you can appoint Thuli Madonsela as the president of the country, which was a hope among the middle classes in this country for about 6 months last year. People were marching, let's make Thuli Madonsela the president. And you go, have you not read how this country works? Did you not sit through 2014 when Jacob Zuma was elected president of the country by parliament? Right? So it's that kind of hopeful la-la-land aspiration. You've got the people who are making these statements are lawyers. Right? These are not somebody standing as somebody's domestic worker or a farm hoe operator. This is somebody who actually has a law degree, or worse, is writing stories for a newspaper or doing television or radio, who says let's have a whole discussion about making Thuli president for 3 hours. How are you going to do that? And when you accuse people of political illiteracy, they turn on you because now you're the elitist. You go, no, you need to read the foundational documents of the state you live in. So I think we use the exceptions where we have had successes, and we forget that for a very long time after 1994, millions of people told us every day that the state they lived in wasn't working. We only started paying attention as middle-class reporters on that sort of stuff when it started hitting our pockets. So Nenegate would have split up nobody had it not touched our pensions, our investment schemes, our ability to live in the bourgeois republic. So we also need to be a little less self-congratulatory, I think, about this. I do think the media has played very important roles in keeping us, in keeping government to account on some very specific issues. But on some of those other issues, there have been ordinary people who stood up and said, not today, not in my neighborhood, not in my name, not me. And we shouldn't claim those people's victories as our own, because they happened despite no media scrutiny, no reporting of what happened to those people, etc. So I think that there's a role for the media to play. And then on the other hand, the storytelling, I think, needs to be upped. And this is where I think the kind of stuff that you're doing around those report cards are absolutely essential. So my latest example of storytelling that went horribly wrong was the report back from the NEC. Right? So the Secretary General and the Deputy Secretary General of the governing party are sitting at Lutuli House, and they say, the ANC does not vote on these matters. We come to a consensus. And we come to the consensus by, at the end of the discussion, if nobody objects, we proceed. No one in that room raised their hand and said, what happened to the movement who fought for one person, one vote? How do you decide without... Surely this is not a way to reach decisions that are democratic in their nature. What is going on? No one. It was taken at face value, it was reported, the bite was played, which made me think, do the people in the room not know the history of the ANC?
I would say they did. Exactly. They know
Precisely.
the history of the ANC and democratic centralism.
But do they not
exactly,
challenge
that's
these
what they
people
do.
by saying, how do you argue? So we know that they've never reached this, they've always operated this way. How do you argue for 20 years that this is one person, one vote, and then stand up in 2016 after 22 years in democratic governance and say you will reach decisions by consensus, not voting? No one did them. It was reported as this was the decision arrived at, which to me speaks to the narrative that the ANC tells the reporters is the ones that they often report, which is the problem you have in the US, that the state narrative is never questioned by the media organizations because it becomes the narrative. No one digs deeper, no one asks critical questions. And to me, that moment, a critical question needed to be asked of Jason. What does it mean for the champions of democracy to report to us and say on national television, you don't vote on these matters?
Would you have asked that question, Prof?
Hard to say. In those circumstances, I would hope. I would.
You can say
I would
no
like,
without
I would like.
offending.
I would like to think I would have, but I probably would not have, because I would have
Excuse me?
seen.
I'm glad to.
I would have seen this is a story that the ANC is telling about itself, and that was quite an indictment. I was not going to try to change that. I heard, and I followed it through live streaming. I heard what was being said there, and for me, that was a self-indictment for them to say that. It wasn't. I don't think it was necessary for the journalists.
Do you think
to
any of
come
the
out
journalists
and
in the
ask
stories
that
that they
question?
wrote afterwards wrote that this was an indictment? No.
No.
So do you think they understood that it was a self-indictment, or did they just think this is
I
true?
think many others did. I can't claim to have read all the newspapers, but I think many did.
Sure.
And we're living through those consequences.
No, the debate has been open for a long time. Sorry, maybe you kind of...
Can I come in?
Yeah, go for it. Maybe you kind of...
I thought we were still in.
No, it's
Okay.
been open forever and a day.
Yeah, just a short comment with waste of time. I think, personally, I think the media is a fourth chamber, constitutional speaking, they're doing a lot to inform the masses on the ground, what's even in the polling circles. Yeah. Thank you for that, keep going for that, As you're the fourth chamber, you know what I'm talking about. Fourth chamber.
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So I think coming to rate the ruling party government, solely with one eye, will be very, very unfair. I mean, you must be broughting all our eyes to all even the SOEs, and take a final mark. But give them a 0 mark, or give them a 5 mark, or a very, very low mark. For instance, these SOEs also could influence on the government performance. For instance, there is a resignation of the COO of the ESCOM, Mulibe. You see, that he was blackmailed, he was bribed, it also put impact on the people's judgment. The AG report also, the frequent bailout of the SAA. Those things come to the government. You don't only look at the policymaker as a minister, but look at other structures that also could influence upon this thing. So, last finally point is that the local government results, on the government permanence, also show that the masses on the ground are just fed up about the government permanence. I mean, losing these metros, in Gauteng and so forth, And, I mean, people now are saying, you know what, come 2029, stakes are too high. As long as the way we perform ANC, they give you a message that no, August 3 was not 10 years ago, was this year, was yesterday. That no, pull up your socks.
But what do you say? You ANC?
You want my personal opinion?
Yeah, as an NC member.
Yeah. I think on my personal opinion, when I come back, you can put me right. I put in crap. We are out of order here.
Tell me your personal opinion.
I think in my own opinion, 2 points on that what we raised. As long as Msholozi, Mr. Zuma is still running the party, stakes are too high. Could have been discounted. Something need to be done.
Yes.
The results was the local government elections, polls. That these are not okay. AC is very sick. It's in the ICU. Need a very, very deep procedure. And 2, finally, the AC caucus in Parliament. How many knives Zuma have escaped when they want to impeach him in the National Assembly? Who shielded him? The AC MPs. So Zuma, in all these sagas that we know about, between Kandla, Amdi, Guptas and so forth, he's not the only fish in the river. Those who are shielding him, they know for what. Because using your principles morally, can you feed me? I can't. I don't know about you. Can you criticize the hand that fits you? There's very few of us who can do that.
But you're criticizing the ANC.
Eh?
But you're criticizing the ANC and it fits you.
No, I'm not criticizing them. I'm just giving it. I'm just giving it.
Okay, no, good point.
The last point, I promise you that no, the Chief Justice ruling, on the Kandla case, that the government, Zuma especially, they have violated the executive ethics code,
Yeah.
and the ANC, both the caucus in Parliament and the NEC, full up their hands. Didn't do anything about him, going to order. No, guy, we have violated the constitution of the country.
Yeah.
So ANC, Zuma, believe me, Zuma is not alone in this service, There are those who are protecting him. That's my analysis.